Welcome to the Cresco Wealthcast. My name is Dimitri. I'm the host of the pod, and I'm also an advisor within the Cresco Wealth Management team. Just want to say a quick thank you to all of you that continue to support and follow the channel. I appreciate you, and of course, welcome back. And if this is your first time to the podcast, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy. At the Cresco Wealthcast, the inspiration was very simple. I wanted to bring topics that were derived from real conversations, and I wanted to do it in a way that was relevant and relatable to you. And a lot of the conversations and the content that you're going to hear, it's coming from clients, it's family, it's friends, it's just being out and about and having those real conversations. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoy, but before I let you go, just want to let you know you can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search at Cresco Wealth Management. Till then, enjoy the pod. Oh, and by the way, that music you're hearing, that's Pete Ems. He's one half of Small Town DJs, and it was nominated for a Juno Award. He's on the team. No big deal. Yeah, that's right. I see it. For those that don't see it, actually, Wayne's doing his pre-podcast stretching and coming in. You got to be loose for these things now.
Well, that's the problem. I'm not loose most of the time anymore. It's a product of age, and you know it.
Well, you're getting nothing but busier. But yeah, welcome back, everyone. As we said, the Cresco Wealthcast. Wayne has been working on a couple things, and it's been timely, and we were wondering what to do for a pod for the summer as people are taking holidays and something that would be relevant. And I'll let you talk about it a little bit more, but you've been coming out with a lot of guides and materials for our clients or prospective clients to navigate certain areas of their financial position, requests, things like that. And most notably, we have summer holidays. When summer's done, guess what happens after that? It's back to school. It's back to the grind and everything. You've come up with an RESP, or Registered Education Savings Plan withdrawal guide, specifically on the withdrawals, as we'll say. And you did it for us to be ahead of the game, for people to help answer some of their questions, because they are just not as advertised. I mean, we had Sharon on here before too, and we did it more on the logistics side of things, but sometimes they're not as advertised as we learn things as we go. So Wayne, to start off, why don't you talk us through why you did it, the incentive to do it, and we'll get into the meat and potatoes of what's inside of it.
Yeah, thanks, Dimitri. It's always a pleasure to be here. And like you said, coming up to the end of summer, RESPs really are a timely topic. I find a lot of the times in dealing with people and building plans, saving is the easy part, especially with RESPs. A lot of people know if you put $2,500 a year per child into the RESP, you get that $500 grant, you get $7,200 worth of grant over the child's lifetime, and people manage around that. But then the time comes where, your son or daughter is off to school and you've built up this nest egg in the RESP, and the question is, how do you use it? It can feel like a bit of a maze. If all you do is you start to Google RESP withdrawals, you'll see all sorts of different withdrawal types, and how do you navigate that? How do you work through the maze of that? Obviously, that's what our team is here to help with, but we put together an RESP guide that kind of hits on our top 10 or so questions that we often get from families as they make this transition from savings to withdrawals from the RESP, because we find that with some small tweaks here and there, you can really make the most of the RESP.
Yeah, let's start off with the first question that I have. I want to bring up, because our industry is really famous for having acronyms. And sometimes we just don't know what they mean. And I mean in general. Even sometimes we'll look at it and go, holy smokes, like this is worse than sports acronyms, for crying out loud. But there are two different types of withdrawals. And I find that's always the point of confusion as well, between the grants and all of the other things that come in. Why don't you take us through the acronyms so we can see it? What do they mean? And I'll let you take the runway from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. So that's a great question. The two types of withdrawals that we find ourselves making from an RESP when a child is attending school to pay for the education is an EAP. That's the first acronym. That stands for an Educational Assistance Payment. That's just a fancy way of saying that that's where the taxable income is for the beneficiary. That taxable income is from two sort of pockets, two buckets, if you will. One is the income in the account while the money was in the RESP. There was never any tax paid on that income as it grows. That's why the RESP is a great tool. But when you take the money out later, it's taxable. So that's part of the EAP, or the Educational Assistance Payment. And the second part is the grants. So we talked earlier about, the 20% grant up to $7,200 per child. That's called the CESG, or the Canada Education Savings Grant. When you start to take the money out as an EAP, that also becomes taxable in the beneficiary's hands. So that's the first payment, the EAP, for funding education costs. The second one is a post-secondary education payment, or a PSE, and really all that is, that's a return of the capital that the subscriber of the RESP put in to grow to get the grant. Because that was paid with after-tax personal money, that money can come out tax-free to the beneficiary of the account as well. So those are your two main types of RESP withdrawals when you are paying for a beneficiary's education.
Okay, appreciate it. Well, let's talk about that on the withdrawal side. This is going to be one of those questions I have for you, Wayne. Of course, not one shoe fits all. But what is the ideal way to approach RESP withdrawals? What are things that people should be thinking about? Whether it's logistics, and maybe we might go down the rabbit hole now with strategy. But again, I know blanket question for you, but how should we be approaching these things?
Yeah, so the RESP itself gives you the most bang for your buck, so to speak, if the money comes out in the hands of the beneficiary, and because they're a student, because they're not working full-time, they have very, very low income. So with the EAPs, how you get the bang for your buck really is you want to use all of the tax-free income room that a beneficiary has. And even if you go beyond that, Dimitri, it's not the end of the world, because you're paying tax at very low rates to, in all of the provinces at that first kind of income tier. But really what I'd like to see people do at the bare minimum is pull out as much money as they can to make sure that they use their tax-free amounts of income every year, which federally here in Canada is a little north of $16,000 right now. It's 2025. And in Alberta, it's a little bit north of $22,000 before the provincial tax starts to kick in.
Okay, and then on the withdrawal as well, I'm going to, maybe if these are rapid fire or not, but I got a couple things to go on that. Scenario, haven't taken anything out of the RESP, education is on the horizon, we're about to go into our first semester, call it. Mm-hmm. What do we need to know?
What we need to know going into the first semester is just because you're enrolled right off the bat doesn't mean that you can take the money out right away. So we've got some time that we have to wait before the money can come out based on whether it's full-time or part-time. You have certain maximum withdrawals you can take out, so kind of $8,000 at the beginning for full-time students, $4,000 for part-time students. Once you've met your time frames for how long you need to be enrolled based on the type of program, then you can start to pull out more money than that.
Mm-hmm. And the 13-week line discussion portion will always be hitting clients or those taking it out. What does that mean? What should we know about that?
So the 13-week really is just a waiting period before you can start to take out more money. So from an RESP, you can take out, this year it's about $29,000 of EAPs, the educational assistance payments from the account over the course of a school year. But you're limited at the $8,000 for a full-time student for the first 13 weeks. After that, the gates sort of open up and you can start to take the rest of the money out.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to clarify.
And when I say the rest of the money, Dimitri, again, I just mean up to the $29,000 threshold.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks for that clarification. Okay, so does the money go to the student then? So we're dads, we make the withdrawal. Where does the money actually go on the withdrawal?
Yeah, so it can go to the student. It's pretty common to see the subscriber take the money out to themselves, but the catch with that is you're supposed to use it for the benefit of the student, the beneficiary of the account, to help pay expenses on their behalf. No matter what you do, the tax is payable by the beneficiary of the account there for those EAPs. You can take it either way. Pay it to the beneficiary, take it out as a subscriber, but you're supposed to use it for the benefit of the student. CRA is not going to come audit all of your expenses that come out. It's you've got up to that $28,000-$29,000 level before they start asking for receipts to prove what you spent the money on. By default. That said, they reserve the right to audit at any amount, but we practically don't see it on a practical basis until we hit that upper end.
Okay, so here's a question that I get all the time, you'll get all the time, and everyone will continue to get all the time. And the one that I love because everyone's thinking about it, so there's no punishment for thinking about this. Can you just take the grant money out first and use that first before dipping into any other funds?
I wish you could just use the government's money to pay for everything and then keep all that income for yourself. But it doesn't work that way. There is a formula that applies to it. And so, no harm, no foul. Everyone's thought about it. But you do got to take them both out. And just to make sure it's fair for everybody, they do have a prorated formula for that.
Okay. This question actually has just recently come up, I can say for myself, and the question was really, what happens if student doesn't go, or I guess they wouldn't be a student, but child doesn't go to post-secondary. Let's just run the scenario, it's an only child right now, before we get into family rollovers, things like that. So only child, doesn't do post-secondary, what happens with the funds? What are our options at that point?
Okay, so if your situation, it's an only child, or maybe it's the last child, and it is a family with a bunch, and the last child has gone to school, and there's more money than is needed, or maybe they went to trade school or just real life college, as I call it sometimes, and they just didn't need the funds. Yeah, I mean, what happens with it? There's a few different things. One, you can wait. You can wait up until the 35th year of the RESP, see if that changes. Sometimes, if someone's 17, 18 years old and they don't want to go to school, and that changes, 10 years later. You've got up till 35 years after the RESP is open to use the money that's in there. If ultimately, though, it becomes pretty clear to you that that's never going to happen, well, then we got to look at collapsing the RESP. So this is where those other types of income withdrawals come into play here that we referenced a little bit earlier. Okay. So one type of income payment that comes out of it is an AIP. That stands for an accumulated income payment. That's basically all of the growth inside that account over the years comes out to the subscriber. That is taxable to the subscriber. Mm-hmm. And what really gets people with this one, Dimitri, is there's a surtax on that. So a 20% surtax that if you're paying tax at 40%, this withdrawal is taxed to you at 60%. The reason they do that, it's sort of tax policy. Nobody likes it. But since the money grew more than it otherwise would have because you didn't pay tax, they take more money on the income at the back end. So that's the one type. Grants get repaid back to the government. You don't get to keep those if they're not used for school. And then ultimately your contributions can come out to you tax-free from the account because they went in tax-free.
They went in tax, yes.
So that's why sometimes when we talk about when a child goes to school, we say, let's make sure we hammer at those grants and the growth, pay out those education assistance payments at the front end, because let's say a student only goes to school for a couple of years, changes their mind. We don't want to be stuck with the income and the grants inside the RESP. Okay. We want to take those out earlier if we can.
Okay, no, that's really good. And I mean, is there a donation possible? Is there a way to send that back to the institution? Like, what are some other tax strategies that we can look at?
Yeah, so if you don't want to pay, the surtax and whatnot on that accumulated income payment, and I've never met anyone who does, if you do have another child and it's a family plan, we can look at leaving the money in there. You could look at rolling the growth into your RSP if you've got contribution room available. And so that's where it can be nice if you have a couple subscribers, look at using, you got a couple people to do that. Or like you sort of referenced, you can even donate that income to a post-secondary institution to avoid the surtax. Now, you're not getting a donation receipt for that, but, it's an option for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. And that's always the most common question is, the what if. So,
Yep.
Even to recap that section is there's many ways to withdraw it, roll it over, family style accounts, things of that nature.
Yeah, and one other thing I should have mentioned is, let's say a beneficiary of the account has, a disability, qualifies for the disability tax credit. We can also use our DSPs as a rollover option for some of these payments too. So there are options. That's where good planning helps.
So in terms of the overall expenses of everything, what are some maybe strategies that when you start planning and withdrawing these or utilizing these, I should say rather, that families can look to consider? Maybe it's lowering expenses, taxation, things like that. I'll let you take the runway. I know you talked about the 35 years, which is, to clarify the amount that you can keep an RESP open until you're forced to collapse the account itself.
Yeah, so like some other planning ideas around it, again, while the child is in school, we want to take out whatever we can from it, even if the child doesn't necessarily need it. So let's say a child has lower expenses than the $29,000 that they can take out as the EAP. I mean, I would still encourage families to consider drawing as much of an EAP as they can to at least make use of their tax-free room. And if they go beyond that, I think I said earlier, it's not the end of the world. They're still taxed pretty efficiently. So, because you got to think, this EAP, that's added on to other income they have too, right? So summer job income, if they're working during the school year, if they've got scholarship income, all those things count to use up these tax bracket rooms. But even if you find that a student's paying tax on $35,000 of income, it's not the end of the world, because when they are working, they would be paying tax on that then too. If you don't use it and the subscriber has to take it out, 1, you lose the grants. 2, you're paying tax at 40%. With the surtax, you're 60%. So get that money out of there if you can, and maybe consider using it for other things.
Yeah, and all of this is in this guide that you came up with. That I've read extensively, and is my favorite guide. It's a great guide. I almost went Donald on that one, I guess. It's a good guide.
It's the best guide.
Best guide ever. But no, so all of this is put in, and I like that. And did you say you write it as more of a letter of direction, as more of an educational piece? Let our listeners know the inspiration as to why you're doing these, because you're not going to stop. There's going to be more coming down the pipe, and they're so helpful. But why do you bring these dedicated instructions to the table?
I think I bring it to the table here, Dimitri, just because these are conversations that we have regularly, and when you do that, you want to share that with others. So, when we talk about things like what you can do with the money of an AIP, even if you don't, of an EAP, even if you don't use it, there's great opportunity to have the student pay some tax on it and put the money into their TFSA if they're not contributing to that. So they can grow that for the future. Maybe if they're working in the summers and they've got RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plan contribution room, we can put it into their RRSP, and they can have a deduction to offset the income from their withdrawal on the EAP. Maybe we open those first home savings accounts for them so that they can start to build up that nest egg to buy a home when they're not a student anymore. Like, there are lots of different things that we can do with that money to say, all right, the RESP is tax sheltered. We need to take the money out somehow. Let's take it out now, pay a little bit of tax. Maybe we get a deduction to make that go away, and then we park it in a different type of registered vehicle to help that student, help that child in the future, with their next level of goals in the situation where their education expenses, their base education expenses, are less than what the RESP can pay for. So it's a good spot to be. And like I said, we can keep it open for 35 years. Sometimes we go for, master's degrees. You go to law school, you take continuing education. There's lots of other opportunities, but these are some that we see. And so that's why we put this guide together. It's kind of like an FAQ, frequently asked questions, conversational piece, and it's intended to be very conversational. And I hope that if anyone listening to this has a chance to download it, that it provides them with some good advice and some good information too.
Yeah, this is great, and again, Wayne, I appreciate it. These pieces that you've been coming up with, whether it's wills and estates now the RESP, and looking forward to what else we have coming down the pipe. We will have I'll see if I don't know if we can upload the PDF on the pod underneath, but we can certainly provide all the links to our contact information and the website. For those that are listening, if you do want it, it's great. It's very to the point and direct. It's very well written in the sense that we're not giving you this big textbook. It's very direct. Here's what you need to know. A lot of what you're getting on the podcast as well. I'd be remiss to say that, as you can see, it is not just a one-tier approach. There is a lot of planning that can go into it as well, or maybe it bleeds into different lines or areas of the overall financial planning picture that we have as individuals and families. That's where you reach out to us, and we have a chat with Wayne as our senior planner here on the team at Cresco Wealth Management. But appreciate you all stopping by and listening. Look forward for any of your commentary. And again, if there are ideas or things that you want to see or frequently asked questions, as you alluded to, Wayne, as well, that gives us the incentive, not just for the podcast, but a lot of these communication pieces that we want to send out as well. And we will send it out to you. It is a PDF. You can reach to any of us directly. But thank you. Thanks for joining. Again, always love having you, and it's great. It's really great. Now we just have to take over the office that separates us, knock down the walls, and then we can build like the dream studio for us. That'd be awesome.
Let's do it.
He won't care.
No. I appreciate you having me on, Dimitri. Thanks again. It's always a pleasure.
Awesome. Hope you enjoyed the episode, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Please feel free to leave your comments, or even if you want to let me know topics that you think I should be talking about. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search at Cresco Wealth Management. And last but not least, if you want to be up to date with our newsletters, our insights, and even our events that we host throughout the year, you can reach out to me directly. It's pretty simple. You could just go to our website, find me from there, crescowealthmanagement.com. Thanks again, everyone.